What's up? It is Behind the Glass. Earl the Pearl,
What
Anthony.
up?
Earl, we're only on camera 2. You don't have to worry about looking at camera 3. So
Thought
even
this
though
was UCSS.
this is not UCSS, this is Behind the Glass. We're testing something out a little different today. Usually we do it on Restream from our houses. We said it's almost football season. This is the time to experiment. It's still preseason for Behind the Glass. Let's give it a shot and do it in studio and see how it replicates, how the fans like it, how we like it. If it's not as convenient because we don't have our computers in front of us, we're going to just test it out. So bear with us today. But, guys, it's the first time all three of us have ever been on set, and there's literally nobody behind the glass. No, we're actually in front of – this is the In Front of the Glass podcast, technically.
Glass podcast.
We don't even have Steve back there.
Yeah, no, it is.
No producer, no director. We just winging it.
Anthony set it up. Hopefully it works and records like he says it should. And
press the record button. If it doesn't work, I blame Steve.
We're going to find out. But – tomorrow night, guys, the Browns take on the Eagles in their third preseason game, even though it's week 2 of the preseason, which we got to figure out a better way to do that. I can't stand the fact that just week 1, only one team plays. Who cares? Y'all just start in week 2. It's annoying. It's like the round of 64s, now the second round. Whatever, different tangent. But DTR is getting the start. We know most of the Browns and Eagles starters aren't expected to play. Earl, I'll start with you, and then we'll go to Anthony. But we've seen the reports from the first 2 days of practice. The first day seemed like it was a pretty even wash. Cleveland held its own. Philly held its own in certain rights, but no clear-cut winner. Day 2, you read what you want, but it sounded like Philadelphia kind of proved why they were the defending NFC champions and kind of made the Browns have a realization there are levels to this, and the Browns got to get to that level before they're ready to compete for a Super Bowl. And they certainly can this year, but after reading those 2 reports and seeing how everything unfolded, you think Kevin Stefanski should actually go back and play his starters now that he saw how they handled the joint practices? Are you still comfortable going with all backups for this game?
I mean, I would love for them to play the starters, seeing how day 2 of practice didn't really go the way that they might have expected it to go. It was a great measuring stick to see where they were when you're going against a team that competed for a Super Bowl that's probably going to, compete for an NFC championship, possibly a Super Bowl again this year. And so if day 2 didn't turn out the way that you would like as a head coach, I would probably consider it. But it's hard to do so if, Nick Sirianni doesn't want to put his starters out there, right?
Yeah.
Because you can't put your starters out there and he doesn't have his out there. It's not really going to do enough to give you a clear cut, of where you are. But I really don't mind the fact that Philly kind of outdid us in the second practice, because it is a measuring stick. And the Browns can clearly see where they are and then where they need to be at in order for them to go compete on that level. So we won't see the starters tomorrow night. I kind of wish that we would, but I think that day 2 was great for the Browns, even though it didn't go the way that they thought it would go, because it showed where you at, where you need to get to, how much more work you need to put in.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I'm okay with it. I know everybody says it's football, everyone's going to get hurt. Why kind of baby these guys? But at the same time, I don't think you need to play them. You saw if your starters were playing in the controlled practice, you saw what they were doing. Sure, I know it's not live fire, but I think you can base enough of it off that, and Stefanski's a good enough coach that I think he can make the adjustments needed when just from practice.
So there was obviously a lot of media in Berea and at the Greenbrier when the Browns went down and had their first training camp practices. Not as much travel to Philadelphia, but Zach Jackson from The Athletic did. And he wrote in his stock up, stock down column after yesterday's joint practice, I'm going to read this quote. It's from Zach Jackson's article in The Athletic. Stock down. The passing game has been completely unimpressive. Anything that involves Deshaun Watson remaining in the pocket has been an adventure. And not since early in camp have we seen strings of consecutive completions in any 11-on-11 periods. That's from Zach Jackson. We were not there. We were here. Right. He was in Philadelphia. To me, that's a little concerning that it's been a prolonged period from a guy who's been at every one of their training camp practices. And Philadelphia's defense was elite last season. Their secondary was just rated the second best secondary in all of football by ESPN. That's not a passing attack that you should be whizzing the ball around. And if you are, that means you're probably doing something pretty damn special. Patrick Mahomes is really the only guy in the entire NFL who did that last year. And we all know Patrick Mahomes is on his own level compared to everyone else. So when I read that, I was like, maybe they do need just some more reps, more rhythm. And then I remembered, I'm sensible. I'm a common sense guy. I don't play anyone in the preseason. I told y'all last week, I am so terrified of any of these guys going down, and we talked on the show earlier today about the most irreplaceable Browns. Well, the answer is obviously Deshaun Watson, so we excluded him from that conversation. And I'll give Deshaun Watson a couple drives to shake off the rust if that's what it takes against Cincinnati. Rust, get in the rhythm, whatever you want to call it, just to kind of find that groove with his guys. Give me that against Cincinnati than a potential of him hurting himself, injuring himself, and then missing a chunk of the season where if he's out, this AFC is way too tough, in my opinion, for them to compete. Even for a playoff spot with DTR, Dobbs, Kellen Mond, Earl Malden, Anthony Antonelli, 47-year-old Tom. Like you know what I mean? Like, they need Deshaun Watson in full swing to be competitive this year, and I'm just not taking that risk in a preseason game, regardless of what Zach Jackson or anyone else said who are at those training camp practices.
Yeah, and if you're an NFL coach like Stefanski and you can't adjust just on seeing what you've seen, I'm a little worried.
Well, I don't know if it's adjustments. It just, when I read the Zach thing, it just sounds like timing and rhythm. And that's still a guy who has a ton of new receivers, like hasn't really ever played with Elijah Moore outside of this training camp. Once again, has played 6 games in 2 years now. You know, game reps, and we talked about this earlier in the week. Joint practices are awesome from a coach's perspective, but in my opinion, Earl, you weren't here yesterday when we talked about this. I can't imagine, and going back to basketball, no drill we did was ever truly a game rep. You know what I mean? Like, those preseason games, even in D3 basketball, were more beneficial to get us ready for the season than anything we could have done in practice. And I'm not sure if I buy into the notion that these joint practice reps where, yes, there's a pass rush, but they can't hit you, is as truly beneficial to getting your feet under you, getting your timing right, getting your rhythm back than an actual preseason game would be.
You know, it's funny. I can go back to a year ago when I started here at the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show. And I remember sitting with you guys, taking notes, you know, step by step on how we do things, coming down here, you know, watching you all produce the show and just really observing everything and getting the mental reps in. But there's nothing that can compete with actual reps on, like hands-on reps, right? Lil Wayne said once, like, you know, repetition is the father of learning.
Yeah.
You know, the only way that you get better at doing something is with repetition. And I understand that there's an injury factor, so you have to be cautious as you approach this thing at this particular time of season. But at the same time and in the same breath, you want to be as ready as possible for week 1 when you start to play Cincinnati, right? You don't, and I get it, you want to give Deshaun Watson a drive or two to knock off the rust. Cool. I think everybody in the first couple drives across the NFL.
Joe Burrow will be doing the same
everybody
thing.
Will be doing
That's
the same
not
thing.
just Watson. That is everybody.
So that right there is going to wash itself. But it is a little alarming, if I'm being honest, that, you know, the 11-on-11 period, the passing game has not been more consistent. You know, we heard Tyvis Powell talk about this last week when he was in Berea, that the passing game didn't really show its consistency at all that particular day as well. To your point, there's a lot of new moving pieces, right? This entire offense, we've heard from Kevin Stefanski and Deshaun Watson, is totally different. So even though it's catered to his skill set, you still have to go out there and put those reps in order to be able to, like, execute whatever the play call is. You look at a guy like Elijah Moore, who's new to the system. You were working in a guy like Marquise Goodwin in. Marquise Goodwin, you know, unfortunately suffers the blood clots, who probably won't be available this season.
Sucks.
Now you're reshuffling that wide receiver room yet again. You know, you got a rookie like Cedric Tillman, who is starting to elevate himself among past certain people on the depth chart, which ultimately changes the chemistry again. A guy like Austin Watkins Jr., who's done damn well with the opportunities that he's given, compared to a guy like Anthony Schwartz, who has not. Again, that shuffles the rotation. So a lot of the shuffling that's going on, I think it impacts the chemistry, the timing, you know, the rhythm of everything that's happening. But to your point, you're going against a Philadelphia defense in practice that's elite.
It's a damn good defense.
Elite.
A damn good defense.
So if Deshaun Watson was out there lighting it up, then, okay, you've exceeded every expectation. And we can go ahead. We ain't even got to do no more practices, no training camp, no nothing.
Start the season tomorrow.
Start the season tomorrow if that's the case. But, you know, these things that don't turn out as well as the fans expect, or when we in the media look at it and they'll say, okay, you know, this gives cause for pause, or it's time for us to kind of, like, you know, work harder at this. I think it only helps the Browns in the entire situation. Last point before you take this back over, you get the joint practices against the Philadelphia Eagles, who played in the Super Bowl, who's a damn good team. And then you're probably going to use your week 3 of the preseason dress rehearsal against the Super Bowl champions.
Yep.
And then you turn around and 3 of your first 4 is against your division.
Yep.
So these next couple weeks for the Cleveland Browns are very, very crucial.
And I'm tossed to you in one sec, but I'm going to spin this a little bit. Yeah, we obviously would have wanted the reports to come out of Philadelphia saying DeJuan Watson tore up the defense, the Browns' defensive line, destroyed the best. Yeah, we all wanted that. But now we have 2.5 weeks, almost 3 weeks. And I say we, I'm not in the coaching staff, but Kevin Stefanski and those coaches have 2.5 weeks, 3 weeks to say, hey, our ones versus their ones, this is where we excelled, this is where we didn't, and this is what we need to put a little polish and fine-tune before week 1 against Cincinnati. And I do think in these joint practices where things are controlled, coaches can get a better sense of exactly this is what you were supposed to do, this is what they were going to do to counter that, and you either did or didn't, as opposed to in a real game where there's so many variables and guys make plays on the fly and Deshaun Watson foot slips against Washington, he scrambles. Well, that wasn't designed, it just kind of happened. In these joint practices where everything is controlled to the T, you can see this guy, and that guy did exactly what they were supposed to do. We let up a sack, or this play didn't work because this player ran the wrong route, missed an assignment. So I think you can pinpoint and put a microscope to the little intricacies that stopped a play from developing or made a play happen that they didn't expect to pop like that. So I think it's easier to diagnose where they need to improve on before week 1 based off joint practices, but I'm not too worried. I'm a little concerned, but if you had no concerns heading into a season, you'd have Patrick Mahomes as your quarterback and you're the defending Super Bowl champions. I think every team, the other 31 teams in the league outside of Kansas City, and even Kansas City, should have a little concerns heading into the season because no team, in my opinion, in the league is head and shoulders better than the rest, and the AFC is so tightly compact that it's going to come down to these little things, and now maybe Stefanski, Schwartz, AVP, the rest of those coaches know exactly where they got to tweak things to make this Browns team reach its full potential.
Yeah, no, I mean, I don't see any season where next season, right after this one, Deshaun could light it up. We're gonna have concerns about something.
Yeah.
Like you said, Kansas City, they're concerned about their wide receiver core this year.
Yep.
Everybody goes through it. I wouldn't panic if we say, DTR lighting it up in the preseason doesn't make a huge difference, right? Why should we be concerned about that too?
Yeah.
We can always adjust. Nothing matters until that first week in September 10th. So.
Yeah. I mean, to the Kansas City point, you think about it, this is a team that lost 2 Pro Bowlers on their offensive line in free agency. So as great as Pat Mahomes is, he still got to have somebody that's going to protect him.
Every team.
You got young wide receivers in Kansas City, and they were rookies last year. And the one thing about being a rookie when you have success in the NFL, there's not much film on you, right? But when you have like the running back, Pacheco, Sky Moore,
yep.
like guys like that, it's film on them now.
Yeah.
And so how you come back and duplicate year 2, they can possibly take a step back. Let's just be totally honest.
Yeah.
It is really, really, really hard to duplicate what the Kansas City Chiefs have done in the NFL when the NFL is geared up towards parity. So every year is going to bring his own set of issues. For me right now, man, fellas, the offensive line, certain parts of the offensive line just has me a little worried, a little worried because, in practice, it's not full systems go. And I'm starting to wonder that, when it is full systems go, will Deshaun Watson really be able to execute this offense because certain parts of the offensive line just seem so shaky. I'm worried about Jack Conklin's health. I'm worried about Jedrick Wills in totality.
Yeah.
So it's things like that that's, it brings us concerns. And I thought yesterday and the day before yesterday was a huge test for the offensive line because even if you're facing Philadelphia starting defensive line or their backup defensive line,
they got 7, 8, 9 dudes who can play.
You going against I'm not sure if the Browns will see that much talent on a front 7 for the rest of this entire season.
I mean, last year it was the best front 7.
Yeah.
Or best.
We play San Francisco. That might be the closest to it, but this is a good measuring stick to see, okay, this is where we are, this is where we need to be.
Before we get back to this, I want to say shout out to everyone who's tapping in, tuning in. The one downside of doing it in the studio, and this is a pro and con, we look a lot better. We sound probably a lot better. Mm-hmm. We can't see your viewer comments on screen. We don't have that capability when we're in studio. So we appreciate everyone in the chat. If you have questions, we're not going to be able to answer them this week, but next week if we're back on Restream, we can. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. We do appreciate all you guys for tuning in, tapping in, and enjoying some time with us. on this lovely Wednesday night.
When we do figure that out,
It's going to be a game changer.
it's going to be a game changer.
Game
When we
changer.
get them comments in here on the screen, it's going to be a game changer.
DeJuan Jones, we'll talk on him real quick. Then we're going to get to DTR. Then we'll talk a little else. But on Tuesday's show, I asked a question to the panel. You know, we've seen DeJuan Jones through 2 games, and from every report throughout training camp, the dude's looked like a stalwart. He's looked like the guy that was expected to be a first-round pick, had the talent of a first-round pick, and had slipped. In 79 pass blocking opportunities through 2 preseason games, he's allowed 1 pressure. He's got 2 Brian Baldy breakdowns on him already through 2 games. And Baldy had a great line. He said he had his left hand in Cleveland and his right hand in D.C. That's how long he was blocking these guys. And, you know, I think Jason said it best, and Earl, I'll ask you this because I know, Anthony, you were here. I said, Jason said, the question I asked was, is DeJuan Jones ready to play a significant role on the Browns this season? You can take significant however you want. Mm-hmm. Starter, situational guy, but a legitimate role. And I love Jason's answer. Jason said, you know, he fell to the 4th round for a reason. There were some mental question marks about DeJuan Jones that he's starting to answer, but we're only a couple weeks into camp, so it's, you know, nothing's set in stone yet. But he said, I think the Browns looked at DeJuan Jones as a 2 to 3 year project. Mm-hmm. Like, by the end of his rookie contract, we could have something. And the way he's played, the way he's acted, the way he's performed has fast-tracked that he might be ready to play now. And not necessarily as a starter, but if Conklin gets hurt, it's not, hey, we got to throw James Hudson in there. We have a choice. I think that's probably where I'm at right now as far as, is he ready to be a full-time contributor? But I'm not going to lie. Of all the dudes in preseason, based on my expectations of what they could do, based on everything I'd read and heard about him coming out of the draft, based on watching him play at Ohio State and then seeing it translate to the field on an NFL field, dude just looks different in a good way.
You know, when you go through the entire draft process, right, there's a lot of interviews, there's a lot of different drills and things that you have to do. And to me, I think you can be overanalyzed.
Oh, 100%.
As a
100%.
player. And so when they listen to how you ask questions and you know, how you go about certain things, you not being at certain places for certain things, all that stuff comes under a microscope. And now people start to question your love for the game. You know, is this guy serious? Is he smart enough, etc.? But when you strip away everything else, right, and we get to the most simplest form, this is about playing football. And it seems like ever since he's walked out there with shoulder pads, a helmet, and a jersey, it's been about nothing but playing football. Yep. Forget the interviews, forget all the crazy workouts and drills that you will never do again as an offensive lineman. You get with a coach like Callahan, who's willing to like hone your skills, right? Because if you started on the Ohio State offensive line, you got to have the intelligence and the physical whereabout to be able to do so. And so to be able to get with Callahan and just to work on the things that he's worked on, you can see it. You know, G talked about this last week. The dude is so big, so physical, so athletic, and he's so long. It's like, as a defensive lineman, Mike, how can you get your hands on somebody who at the break, they already extended you? Yep. You can't do anything with him. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And I just think that if he continues to on this trajectory that he's on right now, I think he can have a significant impact on this team. You know, I think it was either Bleacher Report or PFF. They had their boldest predictions for each team in each division. And one of the predictions that they had for the Cleveland Browns was by the end of the season, DeJuan Jones would be your starting right tackle. And I really think that that's a legit possibility that can happen. I really, really do. My only pushback in that is they're paying Jack Conklin way too much money, and they can't cut him because the dead cap is way too early. But here's the catch-22 to that, right? You are paying them a lot of money, and typically when you pay people a lot of money, those are the guys that's out there. But this is a particular season to where it's a hot seat.
You know me. I'm with you on that.
You can't. If I'm Stefanski, and I hope he's not like this, I can't. If Conklin is getting his ass lit up, right?
You gotta take him out. Yeah.
I can't keep trotting you out there knowing my job is on the line.
His leash is gonna be so long.
Especially if I got a rookie who's balling and showing me that every chance that he got, okay, I'm capable of doing this. So I think that the best players need to play, despite of what the salary number is, and he has an opportunity to make a major impact on his team much sooner than I think any three of us thought he would be able to do so.
No, I agree. My My biggest concern with players that have like that mental kind of thing, and you're right, Earl, they might be overanalyzing it. Everybody can grow up. I think someone said yesterday, you're not 22 forever.
Yeah, he's 22
right?
years old. Yeah.
And from 22 to 26, I have changed exponentially as well. My worry about those kind of players is just that's a lot of pressure for someone in their rookie year to end up as a starter. Mm-hmm. And I don't want someone to be forced into that position too early and not mentally be able to handle that. Because I don't want him to break mentally and we lose this great talent because he, you know what I'm trying to say? I don't know if I'm saying it right.
But no, he's right. But you know what, to your point, you know what, I wonder if the pressure is really off. Because
it might be.
If like we always talk about Madden, we talk about ratings, we talk about all this stuff, right? But if you go to franchise mode, you download the authentic draft class, and everything that you've seen in video game world and real life world prior to last football season had this young man mocked as a first-round draft pick.
He was a first-round draft pick in mocks until like 3 weeks before the draft.
Yeah, and
really to the Senior Bowl issue and
exactly.
And once and I say issue, it's an issue to draft personnel guys. It's like if he didn't want to do interviews, like I don't care.
Yeah.
But it's
so to his point, I think he was always mocked as a first-rounder. You go in the 4th round, well now the pressure is off. Now it's not the pressure. Now it's that good old chip on your shoulder.
Yeah, but it also, real quick, and I apologize for cutting you off, but the money you make as a first-rounder versus the money you make as a 4th-rounder, like, it's different kind of pressure. It's not pressure to succeed immediately, but now the pressure's on DeJuan Jones that I didn't get life-changing generational money just by signing my name on a contract.
I think he's hungry.
And that goes both ways. It makes the guy either hungrier or it pisses him off and leads to that chip on his shoulder. Yeah, chip on his shoulder. Exactly.
Just think about this. What has it been? 3 or 4 years ago now, right? We drafted Jedrick Wills with the number 10 pick in the NFL draft. And this is a dude at different phases of his career has not shown always the best amount of effort.
Yep.
Kind of looks a little lazy on the field at times. Kind of looks a little lost on the field at times. This is a first-round pick who, as soon as he signed his name, he got life-changing money.
Life-changing, yeah.
And it seems like the sense of urgency has never really been there consistently. And then you look at this guy who was mocked as a first-round pick, who was not a first-round pick, and now all of a sudden you see this hunger. You see this attention to detail. You know, there was video floating around of day 2 yesterday. You know, he went up against an all-pro and Brandon Ingram couldn't do nothing with him.
So that clip was weird because I saw it, like the Browns tweeted out, like, look at our guy stuff a all-pro. And then, like, defensive line specialists were like, Brandon Graham won that rep. And I'm looking at it like...
Yeah, like how?
Like, I'm not going to... I told you, I played offensive line 1 year in my life. I got pancaked every play. I was the worst offensive lineman that ever suited up in the history of offensive linemen.
Can't
I was
imagine
like
why.
4'3", 39 pounds, essentially, in 2nd grade. It was terrible. So I'm not going to pretend I know, like... They were saying that Graham closed the edge quick enough that he would have forced the pressure. And I don't know. Like, I don't know. To me, it looked like he stonewalled Brandon Graham. And for that, I'm going to stick with it.
I got a question.
I don't know.
How does it feel to say, hey, I've blocked for an NFL running back in my
Two.
life?
No, listen, I told you. I'm from a little town. I went to the smallest public high school in New Jersey. Like, little town. My high school did not have its own football team. That's why these dudes ended up going to different high schools because they were good. But I lived 2 doors down from Donald Brown, who went to UConn, was the first-round pick of the Colts. And then, like, 4 blocks down was Noshawn Moreno. And my little-ass town, Atlantic Lines, New Jersey, and Noshawn was technically considered Middletown, but it's all in the same Pop Warner thing. We had 2 NFL running backs in the backfield. They were a year older than me, but it was the same, like, group of, you know what I'm saying? It's like 2nd, 3rd, whatever. I'll be honest. I didn't block for them. They just ran away from me.
Can you imagine either one of them dudes made it to the Hall of Fame?
I still can't imagine Mike playing football.
McNuggets is in their Hall of Fame speech. I want to thank my 2nd grade left tackle, for clearing the way for me.
No, what I could have done is they could have thanked me for making their elusiveness better because they had a dude in their face within half a second on every. I was the small, like.
That's when you just drop and take them out of the legs. You're fine.
I tried everything.
I've been tickled by that.
I didn't even try football. I can't say anything.
Like, ever since he said that on air, like, I used to be a left tackle. I just remember looking at him like, you used to be a what?
Used to be is the wrong. I guess it's technically accurate, but like I said, 1 year I hated it so much. basketball's my sport. Couldn't do it.
Yeah, everybody tried to get me to kick for football, and I was like, nah, I'm good.
Speaking of other guys that are going to play tomorrow night, Dorian Thompson-Robinson is officially getting the start, barring any changes in the last, in the twilight hours. But DTR, another guy who has, in my opinion, looked really, really good through the first 2 preseason starts. We could talk about competition. We could talk about whatever you want to say about preseason. It doesn't matter. It doesn't count. Whatever. I think there is a tangible factor when you're looking at a game and seeing if a guy can play or not, and if he looks comfortable in certain situations or not, regardless of the competition.
Okay.
Earl Anthony, it'd be like saying, you're producing Get Up tomorrow, or you're producing Good Morning Football. Go step in. If you look comfortable doing it, you may not have the greatest show in the world first day, but you can kind of tell, hey, this kid gets it, this kid doesn't. You know what I mean? I think DTR gets it. I've been beyond impressed with some of the things he's done, and not even the throws, but the way he commands a huddle, the play fakes, his awareness, how quickly he moves his eyes. He's going to play at least a half, is what Stefanski said. How do you think he does?
So, I've talked to a source, and
Hold up. Earl got sources now.
You're playing football. He's got sources. I'm directing. Behind the glass is over. Bye, everybody.
I talked to a source, and the reason why I reached out is I wanted to confirm something I had heard on the broadcast of the last preseason game about him mimicking reps that's not his during practice. And it was confirmed. Any rep that Deshaun Watson takes, he takes it without the football.
Yep.
He goes right next to him, and he literally mimics everything that he does. This is one of the dudes who is always one of the first people in the film room. He stays late after practice with 4 to watch film.
He's got all the traits you want a quarterback to have.
He got all the traits you want the quarterback to have,
The
as you alluded
intangibles.
to. He commands a huddle. He played 5 years for Chip Kelly in a pro-style offense, right? And so this is a guy who has shown he's willing to do the work to be a pro. You know what I mean? Like, never mind him having talent. He clearly has talent.
Athletic freak,
right.
yeah.
But you're willing to put in the work. I think that, tomorrow night is a great opportunity for him to actually seize and lock up quarterback number 2. And I think that if he can go out there against that team, that unit, regardless of who's out there, Philadelphia has a deep roster, just like the Cleveland Browns. And they're a well-coached team, right?
And he'll be playing real quick. He'll be playing the Phillies 2s, not the 3s like he played against Washington.
And as
the
we alluded
3.5s against it. These are Phillies 2s.
Their 2s is probably as good or better than some of these teams' 1s. So I think that tomorrow night can be a huge opportunity for him to go out there and to lock up that QB2 job.
Yeah, I mean, there's no question that Kellen Mond's nothing. But I think he can definitely beat out Dobbs for it. I worry about him being able to show off with our second line, offensive line. It'll be an interesting time to see his mobility and really him running. I'm assuming he's running most of what Deshaun Watson would run.
Yeah.
And being that rollout passer and being able to be mobile and do the RPOs. So I think he can take it, especially, like you said, especially if he goes against Phillies 2s.
Yeah.
No question. I don't want to say anything too fast. I'm like Bull. I know a lot of people complain about Bull that you have to see it. We've seen him be impressive.
Yeah.
But I'm going to wait till tomorrow night till I can 100% say. Because I like Dobbs too.
I'm going to say something. Oh, you go first.
No,
Yeah,
so to that point, right? Like, I get you, I get Bull.
Yeah.
But I got to go off the information that's presented to me right now.
Yeah.
Right? Like, and as of right now, based on the things that he's done throughout training camp, throughout practices in Berea, and the opportunities that he has been given, to go out there and play. Like, correct me if I'm wrong. The Hall of Fame game, he was already in there before the lights went out. Then it was a delay, and then they had to come back, right?
Yeah, because they took out
so.
Mond pretty early in that game. And
that
Dobbs
right
didn't play.
there should have been a light bulb going off for everybody. For a rookie quarterback we all know how football players are. Everything is, and so for you to be locked in, for that to happen, for you to have to de-lock yourself from the situation, go out there and lock back in, and then he lead a game-winning touchdown drive, like, that kid showed right there that he has the poise, he has the mental capability, he has everything you need. And I get it, live actions and seeing a real thing, but if I go based off the information that's presented to me right now, I think he is quarterback 2. And I think that we talk about salary cap, we talk about all these different things. He's a much cheaper option at quarterback too than anybody else would be. So
Yeah, I mean, he definitely has the intangibles, like we've talked about. I want to see as he progresses going against tougher competition. I'm excited to see it. I'm not counting him out at all. It's like,
I'm going to say something a little controversial real quick. I hope he throws an interception on his first pass tonight.
why?
I want to see him respond. We've seen him, and I'm saying this as a compliment to Dorian Thompson-Robinson. He's been so impressive in his first 2 starts that he's almost done nothing wrong, right? Can you think of anything he's done where you're like,
I'm sure he's turned the ball over.
no,
No, he
Has
hasn't.
he?
he has.
not?
He's
No,
been almost. He's been
not.
almost. I don't want to say perfect, but
He's completing over 73.
he's been
70%
almost.
of his
He's
passes.
legitimately been almost perfect, and that's because he's been so good.
Yeah.
When it's going, it's like when you play basketball. And I apologize for always bringing back basketball. I know when you're making shots, you can take a heat check and it goes in. You're like,
Yeah.
you can't do anything wrong. I want to see him respond to a mistake. I think the dude is as poised as a rookie as I've seen in a long time, especially one that's drafted at the position he was drafted in. I think he commands a huddle as well as, once again, any guy I've seen in the last couple of years. And I've watched a lot of bad quarterbacks who are drafted in the 5th, 6th round come in and look out of mind, out of place, out of pocket immediately.
Mm-hmm.
How's he going to respond to a little adversity? We haven't seen it. It's the only thing we really haven't seen from him yet.
I mean, if you want an interception on play 1, throw it to 10. Throw it to Anthony Shorts.
You're going to get an
It's
interception
either gonna
and
be
they're going to
dropped or
fumble
it's
it.
gonna be
But you
intercepted.
know what I'm saying? Like, maybe not an intercept, but I want to see him
I
have to
get what you're
respond to
pointing.
a little bit of adversity against a good defense. Like,
Maybe
Yeah.
instead of
'Cause
an
it-
interception, just take a sack, like first drive.
whatever it is. But like, let's say he throws an interception, right, on the first drive. And he comes back and for the next quarter and a half plays awesome against Phillies 2s. I'm going to feel really, really, really good about this guy. And I do think that right now he's QB3. He's locked that in. I don't think he's going to surpass Dobbs as QB2 without that adversity overcoming moment, because we've seen Dobbs on the NFL level, and we know football games are like this. They're roller coasters,
Right.
up
Yeah.
and downs. Dobbs, for better or worse, maybe not as talented as DTR,
Experience.
and he's like a dead, flat heartbeat. Nothing gets him too excited, and nothing drops him too low, and I think that's what you need in a backup quarterback. And Robinson, and once again, it's a good thing for Robinson. We've only seen him up here. And when he's up here, consistent as hell. If he throws a pick, are we going to see that variation that we haven't seen from him yet? Stupid alarm, my bad. That we haven't seen from him yet. And that's my only unanswered question to this point of his NFL career. So maybe not pick. I want him to have a good game. Don't get me wrong.
No,
but I do want to see him have to
think that's a
respond
really
to a
good
little
point.
bit of adversity before we crown him QB2 or the heir apparent to Deshaun Watson. He's been so good we haven't seen him have to deal with adversity,
Right.
and that's a testament to him. But we know in the NFL, adversity comes in a handful of different factions every single game. I want to see how he deals with it.
Yeah, I didn't even realize he hadn't turned the ball over yet.
He's been flawless.
Yeah.
He's literally
No,
been
that-
flawless. So
Like his numbers, throughout preseason is ridiculous. But I can get your point, because you want to see somebody get hit in the mouth. Like
how do you respond?
How
Yeah.
you respond to it,
Yeah.
right? And there's nothing wrong with seeing that whatsoever. And I think that tomorrow night is a good opportunity that we might see that. Philadelphia's defense is damn good.
Damn good, yeah.
Damn good, and it's going to create issues that he didn't have in the first 2 games that he played in. So how he responds to that matters. But I know we're talking about him, but there's another guy that he's going to be out there with, or 2 guys he's going to be out there with. I'm really, really loving Austin Watkins Jr.
Yeah.
Like really, really.
Made that one-hand
loving this
catch
dude.
yesterday, too.
Yeah, and I think that that's another guy that's hungry. I want to see Cedric Tillman bounce back. I didn't think he had the best game against the Washington Commanders. So he's going to be throwing to some guys that are looking to make this roster as well. And I know you said you had some concerns as far as the offensive line. Man, believe it or not, I look at some of our backup offensive linemen, and I trust them just as much or more than some of our starters.
No, that's
you
fair.
got the real quick second offensive line. I'm not sure who the 5 will be,
Right.
Yeah.
but 4 of them at least will be DeJuan Jones, who's been awesome.
He'll be
Right.
good there. Yeah.
Luke Whippler, who's
Right.
been awesome.
Awesome.
James Hudson, who played in the regular season last year and filled in pretty well.
Yeah.
And Michael Dunn at one of the guards, and maybe even Nick
Harris.
Harris.
Yeah.
And that's
So correct me if I'm wrong, because I don't follow the lines as closely as some of you guys do. When we were watching against Washington with Dobbs out there, he was running for his life.
Washington's
Am I
defensive-
wrong there?
No, he was.
Well,
or were there-
Washington has a strong defensive front. I mean,
Okay.
he was running for his life, but man, he was it seemed like he was missing on a lot of his throws.
I
Yeah.
did not think he played well against
No, I
Washington.
didn't
think he played
either.
well.
I was not
against
impressed at all, but I like that's where my football where's that
You
like,
look
fault?
at like okay, so we talk about how players has graded out. I know James Hudson has been a guy who's graded out pretty well throughout this preseason. The center from Ohio State,
Whippler's been awesome
Whippler's
too.
been balling.
He's allowed 0. We talk about DeJuan Jones allowing 1. Whippler's allowed 0.
Like, man, kudos to whoever coached these dudes at Ohio State because they can pick up whatever Callahan is putting down seemingly pretty easily and continue on. So, I think he's going to be out there with a solid offensive line, and I think that he's going to have every opportunity possible to succeed. But, like, jokingly, if that's what you want to see, draw up something for 10. You might see some adversity and see him have to come back from that.
Speaking of adversity, and Schwartz, I do feel bad for that dude. I hope he makes a big catch. He apparently had a big catch in practice the other day against Philly, a 60-yard bomb he hauled in. So let's see it in a real game.
Yeah.
One thing I am looking forward to and also dreading at the same time is that first Cade York kick. So I went back, and because a bunch of people have been tagging me in reports and stuff about Corey Bjork as the holder, not
you
being a
too.
great holder. Yeah. And I'm not sure how they missed the whole conversation that went on last year. But we had that conversation, not we, but like Cleveland and definitely us, because Jay Feely came on and broke it down as well as anyone did in the city. Bjork does not have a great history as a holder. Guys he's held for have had traditionally some of their worst years. Mason Crosby, Tyler Bass. It was Cade York's first year, but wasn't the best year. So I went back and I was watching that kick against Washington again. There was no wind. It was a perfect snap. It was a perfect hold. And that's from a guy who I saw on Twitter who played in the NFL on special teams, who was tagged in the same tweet and was like, nah, it's just a terrible kick. Like, the hold was perfect. Like, nothing outside the kick. And I watched Cade York's body language. It was a knuckleball, and as soon as he kicked it, he knew he missed it. Mm-hmm. And I'm all for bringing a kicking competition. We've talked about that Monday. He made 6 of 6 field goals in practice on Tuesday, according to Zach Jackson. And Mary Kay, they all tweeted it out. If he doesn't walk out there, like, remember Manu did the big ball celebration? Like, I want my kicker to be the cockiest SOB on the team, for real. Like, if he misses another one, it's going to get so ugly. Like, if I feel bad for Anthony Schwartz. If Cade York missed another one, the reaction to that kick, I'm going to start sending him, like, hey, man, if you need help, like, give me a call letter. Like, I'm saying, like, I'm legitimately worried for these guys because I'm making a half joke, but also being serious. Like, some of these dudes aren't cut out to be professional athletes. And I'm not saying Cade York and the Schwartz, I'm not saying they fall in that category. Mm-hmm. But we've seen throughout the history of sports, especially in the social media era, some of these guys can't handle the pressure of not just their teammates and coaches counting on them, but entire cities and fan bases. And Cade York was a high draft pick. That comes with legit expectations as a kicker.
Absolutely.
He was average last year. He was fine. Like, he wasn't great. He wasn't bad, but he was average at best. And he's looked shaky so far. And kicking, it's like baseball, Chuck Knobloch. It's the yips. If you lose your swag, you lose your confidence. And his body, and if you haven't seen, go back and watch the field goal. There's an angle of just Cade York's body language. He kicked it. His shoulder slump.
You hear me.
Here we go again, man.
You hear me talk about body language being the biggest form of communication ever. Studies show that body language is a huge form of communication, and his body language just read everything that we did not want it to read. Mike, I don't know if I got this 100% accurate, but I think he was like 24 or 31 last year on field goals.
24-32.
75%. And that's not really all that good. Average, as you said. I think Andrew
Actually,
Berry,
real quick, it was below average, but I'll give him a little credit as a rookie. He was average last year.
I think Andrew Berry has, quite frankly, made a mistake, going this far without having kicking competition. I think that I understand the plan, that I understand the mindset behind not doing it, feeling like, okay, if you know that this job is yours, all you got to do is go out there and just work on you. No pressure at that point.
Yeah.
But at the same time and in the same breath, you can't just worry about Cade York. You got a whole team to worry about, right? And sometimes, y'all, iron sharpens iron as one person better as another. That competition is only going to make you better as a player. I can go back earlier this week. I watched Nick Chubb's interview on the Pivot podcast.
With Ryan Clark.
Yeah, and he was talking about the practices at Georgia. He was talking about how intense they were and how, all the competition and practice.
Everyone's a 5-star.
Everybody's a 5-star.
Yeah.
Everybody's going at it. And that's what you want to see at this level with every position on the team. I want my kicker to have swag. I want my kicker to have confidence. Like, when Justin Tucker walks out there, he know he's the man.
Did you see in the Ravens
preseason game?
No, but in practice yesterday when they got in the fight, the first person out, Justin Tucker, who was on the sideline doing it, throws his helmet out. He's running in the middle of the fight. Like,
oh, I gotta see this. I missed that.
I mean, he didn't throw any punches, but he was the first one out there.
You know what I say, right? Tuck don't tuck him. Tuck don't tuck him, man. He let him hang. He going out there. He let you know, man. He's not playing around, and you want that, man. Listen. This is gonna sound crazy coming out of my mouth, but if this continues to be a problem this week, next week against Kansas City, I'm seriously considering cutting Cade York. And I'm being dead serious when I say that.
You can't, and real quick, but
yeah, go for it.
As a kicker, and here's part of the issue of being a kicker. This is why I think you need to be as mentally tough as outside the quarterback. It might be your second most mentally tough position. You can't hide. It's not like as an offensive lineman. Like, let's say Jed Wills gets beat for a sack, right? Mm-hmm. It's 5 players trying to protect Deshaun Watson, or 6 if there's a tight end or chipping back, whatever. But it's 5 guys protecting Watson. Whether it's Wills, Bitonio, Conklin, whoever gives him a sack, all 5 of those guys take part of the blame. Mm-hmm. There's one kicker on the team. There's one guy. If you miss a kick, it's not, I did my job, it was his. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like, you can't hide. Mm-hmm. And you are visible. Everyone's watching you on the TV broadcast. It's not the All-22. On the TV broadcast, you see the kicker, you see the ball, and immediately after, what's the first shot they take? Back to the kicker.
Back to the kicker.
You cannot hide, and that's what's scary. If he has lost his confidence and never met Cade York, I saw him kick in person at LSU. I've seen him kick in person now in Cleveland. He's got a cannon for a leg. And when he's mentally right, I think he has the traits to be as good of a kicker as we have in this league. But the mental is more important than the physical in football.
I just thought about something. Because there's a lot of conversations had, if Deshaun Watson still got it. I can see scenarios right now in that Cincinnati game. Last 4 minutes, whether the Browns is down by a touchdown, down by a field goal, or the game is tied, right? The conversation is going to start with, can Deshaun Watson lead the Browns on a game-winning touchdown?
And that's all that really matters, by the way. That's all that really matters. And I can see it. He goes down, he does his part, and we like, yeah, I told you this, that, and the third. And here comes this kicker trotting out here for an extra point or something like that. He said it, not me.
And now we're sitting up here with me and you know this better than him. Only in Cleveland.
Well, that was like
only in Cleveland.
Do you remember when the Jaguars?
I was going to say, I can picture being at the bar and everybody's like, yeah, and then just deflates. But
the Jaguars, had to be a decade. It was a Jaguars-Titans game, and it was like 10 seconds left. They were down a touchdown, and they actually successfully completed like the 20 lateral play and scored a touchdown.
I remember it.
And then as time expired, and then they missed the extra point and they lose by 1. Like, you talk about the most gut punch loss ever.
Oh, yeah.
Especially with the circumstances
Think
in Cleveland.
about last year. Carolina and Atlanta, the game that DJ
Moore
catch this crazy touchdown pass.
Oh, my God.
And the kicker comes out here and he missed the extra point.
Kickers were missing insane amounts of kicks last year.
We don't need that. And I know I seen your face when I said it. I'm telling you, man, if this continues, I can see that.
What worries me the most about Cade, I've never kicked for football. I've never kicked in full pads, right? I've kicked field goals as tryouts, right? But just like even as a soccer player, like taking penalty kicks, taking anything, there's something even more demoralizing about the way he's missing the kicks. If he was missing it because of the wind, if he was missing it because he got blocked, if he had the angle wrong like last year when it got blocked, there's something where you can go back and you be like, okay, I can work on that. There's something about when there's no wind and you just shank it. And you shank it to the point where it is, I mean, on the camera, it's so close that you don't even know if it went out or not. And that is what I bet kills him the most, because I know that would kill me the most. Because that shanking, that's a muscle memory.
No, it's like when you miss
problem.
basketball shots that feel like they're going in, they just don't go in, and you're like, that was supposed to go in. Why didn't it go in?
Yeah, and I just
Those
the
are
way,
most
the way you
demoralizing.
catch the ball off the side of your foot when you kick it, because he kicks right-footed and it's going that way. The way he must be twisting his hips to just clip it off the side of his cleats, like that's not something you can just slow down enough, especially in a game rep. Like, it's either there or it's not.
To his point, though, it's August, right?
Yeah.
It's August, and you're already missing kicks in Cleveland
Yeah,
Browns
there's
Stadium.
no pressure at all.
So no pressure, no wind, no nothing in August. And you want me to believe, as somebody who knows what downtown weather is like, that if I can't trust you in August, I'm going to be able to trust you in November when that wind is swirling?
And in an AFC, and I can't stress this enough, and this is why he either has to figure it out or the Browns have to figure out who to bring in, who can.
Yeah.
The AFC has 10 teams, in my opinion. In McNugget's opinion, there are 10 teams that can win 10 games in the AFC this year. All 10 won't, obviously, but there are 10 teams with the talent. And every time you say that, there's probably another team you're not even thinking of that ends up winning 10 games. Only 7 of those teams make the playoffs.
Right.
Yeah.
The margin of error in this conference this year is that big.
Yeah.
It is literally minute.
Mm-hmm.
Half a game or one game is the difference in being the 5 seed or being the 9 seed. Like, it would not surprise me if the Browns go 10-7 and miss the playoffs.
Yeah.
Or if the Dolphins go 10. Like there's so many good teams. Losing one game because your kicker botched an extra point and or missed a chippy that would have ended up being the difference in the game is the difference in a playoff spot, home field advantage in the first round.
Right.
It's so close together. And yeah, every kicker misses. Justin Tucker's not perfect. Like, they're all going to miss kicks here and there. But I want to know, from an offensive standpoint, when we get to this point in the field, we at least got 3 points. Whether he makes it, I can feel confident that if we get to the 35-yard line, we're leaving with 3.
When was the last time we felt that confident?
Phil Dawson.
Bronson? Yeah, like, I was gonna say, like,
And so I'll ask you this, and we'll wrap up in a sec. That's a 52-yard field goal, 35-yard, 52. That is, in today's day and age of football, that's a makeable kick.
Absolutely.
yeah.
Do you feel confident, as of today, it is August 16th, that if the Browns run the 35-yard line, that Cade York's automatic from 52?
No, I don't feel confident in him making any extra points either. You know,
I'm
I was
not
watching.
confident at
I was
all.
watching the Washington game with my buddy, a diehard Browns fan, even, you know, on Earl's level, really. And he, as soon as Cade comes out, he's like, "All right, well, this is at best a 30-80 that he misses this."
Demoralizing
at this point.
feeling. Demoralizing.
I'm really at the point, man. I know a guy like Robbie Gould is sitting out there, and I understand Robbie Gould is like 40, 41 years old, right? But
Who cares? Tom Brady was 45 and
You're a
quarterback.
kicker.
Yeah.
You're a kicker.
Yeah.
And I need you for this year. And I get it. He's a high draft pick. But you cannot. We've talked ad nauseum damn near about how important this season is for Andrew Berry, for Kevin Stefanski. You know, we've talked about that if this thing goes south, this is probably Nick Chubb's last year, Myles Garrett last year, etc., right? If everybody else is moving in the same direction, if everybody else is on the same page and the train is really off and running, you cannot let a kicker derail what you got going on.
No.
So I don't give a damn about Cade York being a 4th-round pick. If these issues continue to be issues by the time that we're done with the Kansas City Chiefs game and week 3 of the preseason,
Yeah.
then you need to, because you're not going to carry 2 kickers on the roster.
No.
No, I mean,
You have to seriously consider cutting Cade York and getting a kicker in here that can make kicks. Damn your draft position. Damn you having a notable name. Damn you winning the championship at LSU. Damn all of that.
Yep.
Because when you got to the NFL, you've proven to be average or below average.
and I mean, I honestly, I might be even more cutthroat than you on this. If he can't kick damn near perfect through the rest of preseason, I'm even saying like this tomorrow. Bring in somebody at the end of tomorrow's game. If he misses even one, bring in somebody, and if he can't get it together by the end, he's gone.
All right, so we talked about the bads and really Cade York and Kay, we like you. We hope it all works out. Trust us. We want you to be in
It was
Cleveland
fun
for a
making
long
your
time.
poster when you beat Carolina, man. Like, I'm rooting for you.
Real quick, outside of the guys we talked about, give me one name to watch for in tomorrow night's game before we wrap up.
Oh, I want to see Tillman more because you're right. I think he kind of disappeared against Washington, and I've been excited about Tillman since we drafted him, watching his highlights.
One name to look for. I want to see what Ronnie Hickman does again. I want to see Ronnie Hickman really be able to duplicate what he did in week 1 against the Commanders. I thought that both interceptions were tremendous ball hawking plays. I know the one, was a little easier, but he still made a great play.
Still good
but
catch.
Me and Mike kind of like sat there, went over interception number 2. Like, that play was absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm looking to see if he can duplicate that. I think last week's performance already locked him in on this roster. If he can come out here and ball out again tomorrow night against Philly, for sure, he's on this team.
Hickman was my guy. I do want to see if we replicate it, just to be different. I'll go with Austin Watkins Jr. again, just because that last receiver spot on the 53-man roster, I think he's still up for grabs, and I think he's legitimately placed himself in the middle of that conversation. If he continues to play well, I don't think the Browns will have any choice but to include him on the 53-man roster. So I really hope him and DTR continue to develop that chemistry that we've seen throughout camp and into preseason games so far against a step up in competition against the Eagles number 2s. Guys, we appreciate y'all tuning into Behind the Glass, a.k.a. today In Front of the Glass. We will have a full show for you tomorrow on the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show, previewing from the real panelists their thoughts on the final preseason game. Or not final, excuse me, the third preseason game.
Real panelists.
We're production guys. We're usually behind the glass. Today we're in front. We'll listen to the guys who are usually in front of the glass give their thoughts, picks, and predictions for the Eagles-Browns preseason game. Plus, I don't want to jinx it, hopefully a special interview for y'all tomorrow. Hopefully. Fingers crossed it comes through. For Earl, Anthony, myself, this is Behind the Glass. We will see y'all next week.